A record number of unaccompanied migrant children were taken into U.S. custody this past year. New government data obtained by CBS News shows the federal shelter system received 122,000 children who were without their parents. To compare, the previous record was 69,000 in 2019. So for more on this, I want to bring in CBS News immigration reporter Camilo Montoya-Galvez. Camilo, thanks for being here. Let's get right to it. What led to this significant number of unaccompanied minors entering federal custody this year?
Hi, Deborah. There's really not a simple answer to that question. We know that there are persistent conditions in some Central American communities, such as crushing poverty, hunger, lack of economic opportunities, gang and domestic violence, and also displacement caused by climate change, that are all factors that prompt young people to migrate north to the U.S.-Mexico border. We also know that smugglers have been telling migrant youth, Deborah, that they have a better chance of staying in the U.S., of being allowed to stay here legally on U.S. soil under the Biden administration than during the Trump administration, which, as you know, implemented several policies that were designed to deter migrants from coming to the U.S.-Mexico border and that restricted access to the U.S. asylum system. There's also the powerful push factor of family reunification. We know that about 80% of the unaccompanied children who enter U.S. federal custody have family members here in the U.S., like parents, uncles, aunts, grandparents, older siblings, who are willing to sponsor them from federal custody. So that is also an important push factor. And it is very important to note, Deborah, that some of these children do indeed come with adult family members to the U.S.-Mexico border, but because some of these adult family members are not their parent or legal guardians, they are classified as unaccompanied minors. That is the legal definition under U.S. law, a child who arrives at the U.S. border without a legal guardian or a parent.
Interesting. So do we know how many unaccompanied migrant children are currently in HHS custody?
Yes, there are nearly 12,000 unaccompanied children in the custody of the Department of Health and Human Services today. This is a department that is responsible for caring for these children, housing them in shelters, foster care programs, and other housing facilities, while it looks for suitable sponsors. This agency houses these children until they turn of legal age or until it finds an adequate sponsor, again, a parent or an uncle, a grandparent who is here in the U.S. and who can financially support these children and get them out of federal custody. We know that the 12,000 children that the HHS system is currently holding is about a 46% drop from the record number of children that the agency was holding back in April. But last month, U.S. border officials recorded 14,000 apprehensions of unaccompanied children, and that is the highest tally of any November in U.S. history. So these numbers could go back up next year, Deborah.
More historic numbers, and this historic increase in migrant children entering the U.S. without their parents posed major challenges for the Biden administration. So just remind us how the administration handled this wave, especially against the backdrop of COVID-19.
That is a critical question. Soon after President Biden took office, shelter space at the facilities that house unaccompanied children in HHS custody was severely depleted and limited because of the coronavirus pandemic. In March, Border Patrol facilities, which are not designed to hold migrants for more than 72 hours, let alone children, became severely overcrowded with unaccompanied minors whom HHS did not have the space to process and house. In response to this dangerous overcrowding at the Border Patrol facilities, the Department of Health and Human Services set up these makeshift shelters at convention centers, military installations, work camps, and other facilities to process this record number of unaccompanied children crossing the U.S.-Mexico border illegally. These emergency sites alleviated the overcrowding in these Border Patrol facilities, but Deborah, they also highlighted the inherent risk of housing children in facilities that were never designed to hold minors and that did not have the same standards of care or services as traditional HHS shelters for migrant children. We know that in some facilities, children reported mental health distress, inadequate services. At the Fort Bliss Army Base tent camp, some unaccompanied children were constantly monitored for escape attempts, incidents of self-harm, and panic attacks because many of them were held in this facility for prolonged periods of time. HHS has addressed those conditions, but advocates are concerned that this scenario could play out again next year if shelter bed space is depleted again and HHS does not have an adequate plan in place to house these children.
We've also learned that the Biden administration is preparing to open 2 emergency housing facilities if border arrivals of unaccompanied minors spike again next year. So what do we know so far about these sites? Do we know where they'll be located?
Yeah, a senior Department of Health and Human Services official told us that the department is currently preparing 2 sites, one in New Mexico and the other in North Carolina, that it could potentially open up as emergency housing facilities for unaccompanied children if border arrivals of these minors spike again next year. These again would be the emergency facilities that do not have the same standards of care as traditional shelters, but that are designed to alleviate overcrowding at the Border Patrol facilities. I was told that these facilities will only open up if there is a need for them, if numbers of unaccompanied children arriving at the border increase again. And that is likely because we typically, Deborah, see an increase in migration to the U.S.-Mexico border in the spring of every year.
Right. You are so on top of this subject. We thank you so much for being here. Camilo Montoya-Galvez, thank you.
Thanks, Deborah.